Of course, is Gamer 1745 here, and we're going to get started here very shortly, but just giving a little bit time for people to gather and realize that, hey, there's actually a live stream that they might want to hang out with. And we're going to make some episodes. Okay. Some battling to do around there, a lot of repair. We're slowly getting ahead of things with the French. Okay. Let's make an episode here. Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. Those of us who love playing war games. I presume most of you would fall into that category. And I, of course, am Gamer 1745 here, and we are playing a fantasy scenario, though I've come to believe it's not as ludicrous as a fantasy as it might be. May talk about that a bit later. I know I've talked about it before if you've been watching all the episodes. So, and that is that what if the French had intervened on the side of the Confederacy, actually joined the war, and what that would have meant to the American Civil War. So we're going to, now things are still very much in the balance. Okay, it's 1864. Realize this is about the time the war is starting to wind up here. I think we will be refighting the Battle of Gettysburg, although I don't think it's going to be a major fight here soon. And we've secured the lower Mississippi currently. Yeah, there's no garrisons down in New Orleans, and we might shift a brigade or something down there. That might be a good idea at some point. But we do have a what they call a wood-clad, timber-clad, I guess, and a bunch of French naval forces sitting out here. So yeah, we've got Vicksburg in the lower Mississippi, but they still got Memphis, some other elements pushing in hard on our flank here, with some corps here in Tennessee, which we're holding. Not yet got Kentucky back into the Confederacy. It never was, but it was a slave state, and so was Missouri. So we're doing well. I'm not suggesting we're not, but I don't know what's up with the Union still has, and they got a lot of forces in here. So we still not been able to do that. We still have to watch, especially here. Now, once you get to the Appalachians, you just have to watch a few of the roads or things start to starve. And we have, and I guess we'll start here. We have a couple of Union monitor armored ironclads. So let's do this. And we also have the H.L. Hunley submarine. So let's... Ooh, wow, it took that right out. Okay, we'll leave that there. Now this guy, let's see. We will see what we can do. We get him up to there. That's good. That's going to be painful, but we could do it. Reduce that down a bit, and then okay. Now, how many points? 114. Okay, I think we will take it. Now, we are also, or the French are fighting in Mexico, and we're very much on the defensive at the moment. So, which, with some Union forces down here that we have to worry about as well. So, what you might take as to be an easy victory. It is not. We're bringing reinforcements, and there are going to be a couple of corps and some engineers that may turn the tide there again favorably. Now here, we could race up to there, but I think what we want to do is come here and see that Grenville is unoccupied, which I expected it to be occupied. These divisions and corps. Okay, well, did mention a garrison for Mississippi here, so we were to spend the 37 MPP and get you right down here, just in case something were to pop up there, as it were. I'm guessing there's somebody there. At least there had been somebody there, that I'm sure of. We have 2 corps over here. I think getting Western Tennessee is, maybe because we already have a corps over here, is more important than pushing into Missouri with that. So, let's move you both of these guys up to where they'll get onto the railways. You want to, with a game like this, if you're going to move something on the railway, get the units that are farthest from the target, as opposed to closer ones that you can walk. Well, let's keep that decision for the moment. Fayetteville there. And right now, I do know, because I was looking around, we can build some Cherokee units here. And we'll build another one. So I think that will get all of our possible Indian reinforcements done. Oh, well, we don't have Arno here yet, so I will... let's see what we can do. Not used to needing to ban people, because normally I do have Arno here. Or Whisper. Look, there we go. Right. Bots, because I'm presuming that's a bot here. Or someone trying to promote things. We'll move you up like that. We're going to take the time. Oh, okay. Oh, you're probably not good enough supply. Let's look at supply 4. Yeah, that's the sort of problem. Trying to get you better reinforced. Over here, where we facing a core. About the point, so let's get infantry equipment skirmishers up. Now down here. Well, that didn't take them out like I hoped, but weakened them considerably, I'm sure. Now, like I said, we are looking at another Battle of Gettysburg, or a Battle of Gettysburg. There we go. Okay. Harrisburg? Yeah, Harrisburg. Okay, so they've got Harrisburg with 2 divisions and a brigade behind it. Ouch. Cavalry nearby. Yep. Yep. Oh. Just made the mistake of moving in this without taking a good look around first. I might be making a serious mistake by not keeping my force concentrated here. My current goal is to isolate Washington, because so long as they can keep bringing in forces via the railroad, I think they'll be able to withstand a lot of sieging. So if we cut the railroads all the way through here, we can do better. They're still going to be able to get around, into Pennsylvania here. I think so. Yeah, bring him up. withdraw you back a little bit. We're going to pay the price. Okay, it's going to come off of France, but I want to get you down here. So I want to take Fort Hatteras here to open up supply lines to the continent. Well, if we move those 2 brigades and a division up here, that's going to be a fair amount. We don't have a lot of supply sources here compared to here with all the railways, so I'm thinking it would be best. Well, we get to the railroad faster that way, so they're both going to be there. So we just need to get them on the railway tracks, I think. Like I say, would be best. Down here, we've been sort of successful. We got that 1 unit there to still take care of. Here we are mostly just on the defensive. And that guy, no, that guy can't be. I think we're going to stay that way for the moment. Go for the Confederacy. We still have a lot of points, but we can't expand too much. Well, I guess we'll name it after. We'll do a timber-clad. We're going to do another armored train. That will, we still want to keep a good cushion of forces. Didn't mean to zoom out that far. Just sort of to there. Hey, Drunken Barbarian. Oh, hey, thank you so much for the, sorry I didn't see it quicker, for the contribution, the chat. Thank you very much for £5. Yes, good to have you back. I hope things have been well with you. Been sort of missing chatting with you, of course. And hello, Turn Low. How you doing? Yes, it is morning for me out here in California. Okay. Yeah, no, we're not going to attack there. What I want to do here is spot that. I'm going to move you up behind the river. Oh, okay. Yeah, let's look at supply currently. Next turn, it's thinking it's going to go up a little bit, but we move back along our supply lines here. We'll get better. Reinforcements. Now we're also going to move you into here. Move you up to there to push on. The river fronts. I think we're okay. That core is pretty dangerous if it's at full strength, but I think we're okay for the moment. Now, a little bit of chatter here from me on. I don't know how well this war game will simulate it. and right now I haven't looked up all the details recently, but the Union definitely is, running a draft. There is the Copperhead movement, and I don't know a lot about it. And if you don't know about the Copperhead movement at all, I know to some degree it's. I wish it was sort of this part of the United States. There were a lot of people that might be called Southern sympathizers. The Copperheads, I think, varied to one extent to being, significantly Southern sympathizers to I just don't really care enough to fight over this issue kind of thing. So whether they sympathized, thank you so much. I will definitely do that or do something. Yeah. Okay. And hello, the new IKB. So, a lot of people, of course, don't want their life to be interrupted by being drafted at one level, and of course don't want to fight and die for a cause that they don't really care about. Most of the soldiers fighting in the Union were not fighting to free the slaves. That is, I would say, significantly a retcon if people promote that up. I think they were fighting to preserve the Union most. There were obviously, and in my opinion, no two ways about it, John Brown was a terrorist. I totally believe he was a terrorist. Now, you might think his cause of freeing the slaves is a good cause, but he was very willing with the idea of a slave uprising and just killing, the slaveholders. Yeah, but and it's not just limited to people with guns in their hands, which would have included women at the time just defending their homes. It would have been killing everybody, I believe. So, Yoshihisa Shimazu is here as well. Thank you for showing up as well. So, and yeah, so it was, and he definitely, definitely. My understanding is John Brown in the fighting out here in Missouri as to what in Kansas and whatnot as to what was going to be a free state and a slave state. He was doing terroristic acts as well. So, not to say that there weren't Southerners doing the same thing. I don't want to try to make it him out to be the only one. I know a lot of people celebrate Brown today, and I understand and totally agree with his desire to want to free the slaves. That part I am not thinking is in any way a bad sentiment. It's just you look at what happens with Britain and the Wilberforce movement, as I don't know if it's the standard calling, but I like to promote his name up as part of it because I think he was sort of the heart of it, if you will, which is to get rid of slavery within the British Empire. The government it's a forced buyback, but they buy the slaves from the slave owners. And you didn't have to do that with the Confederacy, but you see, that's on the one side is buying, doing a forced buyback at some sort of standardized price. Whether I don't know whether the slave owners would have considered it good or bad price, but between that versus just a blanket statement of, hey, you know, free now, everyone is free. So, you know, pushing for, get the slaves free, running an underground railroad, which is obviously breaking the law, that's different than trying to, or killing people. Yes, to free other people, I know and I get it, but it is still killing people, which is just going to lead to more and more violence. What's like, um, I see the Great Black Swamp Gamer. We can drain it and use it for farmland. I'm not exactly sure what what you're referring to there, AKB. Um, Good to have you here, Arno. Good to have you here. So, there was a lot of racism in the North, but racism doesn't equate to agreeing with slavery. There were a lot of people in the North. I would say the overwhelming majority, I mean overwhelming, not just a small minority, or a small majority, an overwhelming majority, were against slavery. But that doesn't mean they want to go off and fight and die to free some other people. It's like, hey, think of the slaves that are around the world today, and just up by Michigan, Big Swamp. Oh, but yeah, okay. Here. Oh, the Great Black Swamp. Oh, okay. Thank you, IKB. I didn't particularly know about this. I had a friend who was from Michigan, but I don't know much about this area of the United States. The closest thing I think it was in Chicago, stopped at the airport once. Didn't leave the airport, just change airplanes and go on from there. And since there's very little battles fought out here, I don't know. I know there's some here for the War of 1812, but not much. So, yeah. Um, we can look at slaves, and it depends on how you try to define slavery, but you know, there's a lot of slavery still in America. Now it's a lot more informal in that the government doesn't recognize ownership. It's much more people that are smuggled into America, not just up from the south of the border, but in the past, Chinese and other people incur great debts on being smuggled into America and have to work them off, and crime gangs, enforce that, shall we say. So, there's things like that that are, government opposed, that illegal on this sort of scale. And is that slavery? Well, yeah, sort of. It's a debt slavery to crime gangs and whatnot. To like what's going on in China with the Uyghurs, an institutionalized government system that is, not slavery owned to a person or a gang or whatever, but slavery to a government kind of thing, and different things going on. And I understand slavery is rampant in places like Libya. And again, it's, how do you define it? Is it, how formal is the slavery? And I think it is sort of formal there. And so, we have slaves, but do we really want to end slavery and say in Libya? Is it worth invading Libya? And we've sort of kind of, toppled the government there that was I don't have good feelings towards Gaddafi, shall we say. So, with the, bringing down Gaddafi, it caused chaos, but, yeah, Now there's lawlessness or lack of central government control, and supposedly there's a bit of a, you know, you, rebirthing of slavery there with people that have come up from southern Africa. How many people in Europe or how many people in America are going to be, yeah, send in the troops to free the slaves today? You know, so you get that point, and so how many people want to fight in the American Civil War just to free the slaves, knowing that they're going to lose lives, other Northerners are going to lose lives, Southerners are going to lose lives? Can't we solve this, even take longer, but solve this through other means than a war? That's what I think a lot of the Northerners were hoping for. Then, of course, you get the Civil War. And from my understanding in the South was, especially the sort of northern, Virginia, Kentucky, Arkansas, Texas kind of states, if you will, they weren't going to secede from the Union until Lincoln does his, what it was in like a 90-day call up or 70-day or whatever it was, his call up for volunteers, and because he was going to be invading the South. And they then decide to go, leave because of federal domination kind of thing. So that gets a great amount of patriotic fervor in the South to fight. Now, if we're doing not just a brief raid into Pennsylvania, but if we're starting to invade into the North, I think there's going to be a lot more manpower made available to the military than there was, because, there was a lot. There were a lot of troops stationed in northern areas. Not going to say it has like the density of the frontline areas, but there, we can see here there it does have defense in depth, shall we say, and particularly some of these major cities here, along the Great Lakes and whatnot, they're large populations. So whether they are a local militia type formation or an out and out federal military unit, I don't know, but there's a lot of that. So I could see a apparent successful invasion of the North and persistent one, meaning you're coming in and staying for a while, really pushing a lot more effort by the Union. And I don't know how this game simulates that, but we've obviously started to clear out a lot of the invasion into the South. So in that way, I don't know. I didn't know you had knee pain again. Sorry to hear that. So yeah, that's sort of my view of they were still very much in the balance. And so again, I don't know how this game is going to handle it, but this could really flip either way with a large surge of troops. Well, I would say fighting spirit has fallen because of getting Gettysburg. Yeah, we get it. The Waristas are everywhere doing guerrilla activity, and we don't have enough occupation troops. I get that. Well, good to hear that it's manageable. Uh-oh. Good thing we repaired one of those ships fully. Yeah, okay, he's falling back to Grenville. Don't know if you wanted. I don't know if you mentioned where you had been. If you want to mention, say it sounds like you were. I know from your earlier message that you got back into Britain, but don't know if you want to tell us of your adventures. Okay, yeah, you're still thinking down here. No, whoop. Don't sink my ships. Really coming out of this enemy contact. Okay. Oh man. Oh. They're falling back there, it looks like. Realizing they're getting a bit cut off. Now, Kentucky was a slave state, so a lot of people would be pro-Confederate there. Oh, we get it. Boom, boom, boom. Ah! Cool, Drunken Barbarian. I knew you were a paramedic. Didn't know you were training. Very good. Very good to hear. Glad you made it back safely and everything. Okay, well, we've been a little bit of a pushback here, I know, with what just happened there and losing a core. So, yeah, we're going to come there. I pushed on one of my cores. Okay, so what we need to do, we're going to need to do some stuff there. Now here, we're going to move out our big we're going to move you as a blocking force to there. We're going to move you into port and you into port. Okay, so we lost a core here, but we probably need to fall back. Okay, so fall back behind the river there. Moved our ships the last time. No, okay, it was just this one. Right, okay. No railways in Mexico at this time, so they've got to march. Yes, we have the French helping in the Confederacy, but I've sent a good I sent two of the four corps that the French had out already, sent them to Mexico because we're not doing so hot in Mexico. I'd love to talk to you sometime about that, Drunken Barbarian, when not live on chat, like in the Discord server or something, if you want to chat about it at some time. If you don't, I totally understand that too. Love to hear some more details about that. Okay, well, let's come down here. Oh, they got hit us harder, but okay. Well, now out here, let me get there. Yeah, I would sometime love to talk to you about that. I do know a few people in Ukraine, some Ukrainians and whatnot, but I'd love to hear more about what you experienced. Okay, well, now if I move to here, there's going to be I'm afraid there's going to be a Union unit. Where did my cavalry go? The cavalry's over here. Okay. That didn't end very well. I need more cavalry. The eyes of the army, yes. Oh yeah, but it's still, I'm sure, a fascinating story. Yeah, check will have the best initial. Hoping to take this whole force out right now. There we go. They stayed too long, got surrounded. I guess there's somebody there. Rating. Cavalry, Rangers, which function about the same. See, now that we spot that. Okay. Don't have him tell his whole story now. I want to talk to him, and when he can really actually sort of chat. Arno. Arno, can you do me a favor? Drop links to Crisis Report in both YouTube chat and Twitch chat for me. Okay, now we can come into there. That would be nice. Oh, he's not on the railway, oh, but he is. It's expensive. Can we get up? No, it's not worth it. Oh, it's cut off there. Thank you, Arna. Do appreciate it. Oh, undo that. We're going to go back to there because you're a bit beat up. Thank you, IKP. That's really nice of you. Now that we're here, let's see if we can fully get reinforced there. That is another project of mine that I haven't posted anything recently, and that has been because I guess I would call it, and I'd love to hear what somebody who's been in the area not thinks about it. That there's been sort of a stalemate in Ukraine. Small events definitely happening, but not so much big events. Yes, if you want to hear what either I think is important to we're going to move you on to some railways here. You're going to come down here. This will look into there. You're going to move. What I think is important to know about and what I think about it is sort of the purpose of the channel. Because sometimes it's where you focus the camera is important. You know, oh, I should have been moving you up last turn as well. And then, but it's also here. I think we'll get it this time. Can we? Can we? No, we can't. Oh, we moved out. Okay, well, you moved in there, so now you no longer have supply, so you're going to die. Let's move you out to get you heading over to here. Let's continue. These guys are in port now. Got a 9 here, backed up there. Yeah, I've been trying to. That's I would call it trying to at this point, but If they want to move into Alexandria, I guess they can do so. Yeah, with the loss of that core, we can bring it back. Hey, Singh, how you doing? I'm doing very well. Okay, so right now that we have Gettysburg, we're going to see about holding up here. While we refit and format some. Thank you, IKB, for posting a link to the Discord. Okay. So those of you who have watched a lot of what I like to, videos playing, I'm really, these guys, what are they doing? They're marching away from Washington, D.C., the capital. Yeah, it's the indirect approach. I think they're going to have a lot of forces coming in here, and this is going to be hard to crack. But I think if we can get them worrying about other places, they will disperse their effectiveness. You guys. Okay, some of these are okay. So okay, you're supply as I was hoping down here. No. We want you. Oh, I wanted to. Oh well. Misclicks. Orders going astray. You got that one general over there. You got Pemberton there. Johnston. This direction with him. That would have. Oh no, we moved in this turn. Right. Okay, we'll spend 50 MPP on buoyancy tanks for our submarines. IKB would probably like us to do better armored trains. We are at level 1. We only have the... Well, we're building a second one. We'll do what IKB wants us to do here, I'm sure. Yes, we have armored trains. See? Here okay, well, this is a railroad battery. I think we have... Yeah, there's the armored train in production there. Let's get back to research. Okay, leadership. Leonard, I don't want to get too crazy about experimental balloons. That would be useful. Let's do that. Got a lot of production. Okay, I'm not going to overdo it this turn. Let's go back to here. I think an ironclad would be useful. We'll call it the stone wall. Yes, balloons. Move you out this way. Cover the supply. Your forces are here and here. Now down. Oh. Okay, these guys, yeah. You come back to here, I think. Stukas, Arno, come on. What would we do with a bunch of Stukas? We have no gasoline. They wouldn't fly anywhere. We just have these pretty Stukas sitting around, you know. Well, we do have timber clad, so that may be sort of the equivalent of a cotton clad. I don't know. I do understand, a lot of, yes, trust me, if you take a big, highly compressed bale of cotton, it'll absorb a lot of impact. I don't know how many thick you need to stop a moderately big cannon, but it'll more than stop a musket ball, I'm sure. I am sure. Oh yeah, no, I want to hear about that. No, I don't play Battlefield 5. My main sort of action game, I know it's not technically a first person shooter, is War Thunder. I have played some postscriptum, mostly in the tank driving, but sometimes infantry, and I'm starting to play a little bit of Hell Let Loose. So I don't do the battlefield games. Not that I think they're bad, just never bought any. You could run kerosene. Yeah, maybe. That might. I don't know if that has enough fuel performance for that. Because I have another friend here, Drunken Barbarian, who's in the Discord server, who was a paramedic, and I don't think being in paramedicine, but I know he trained or attempted to train Afghanis. That he doesn't speak very well thereof. Might be an interesting get you guys in conversation about some of that. But yeah. Fly on water? No. Okay, we got these guys. Just want to make sure. They're being pushed a bit, but I don't think they're about ready to. Ooh, we should have moved you to here before now. Yeah, I'm a little worried about him getting cut off, but get supply there. That here. So if he's gonna attack, he has to move out of this town, and we'll take the town. Yeah. So I think if I remember, because it's been years since I've talked to him about the training stuff, he was explaining to an Afghan interpreter who was then, I think, going either through another person or trying to interpret into a different, like, not his Afghan language, because there's multiple languages spoken in Afghanistan. So there was, I think, multiple language barriers. Oh, and the guy who, I'm talking about speaks English, but it isn't his first language either. So I don't know how much was language barriers versus just cultural differences and understanding of things. All right, and these guys, next turn we will spend. Okay, well, let's look at purchase, even though we're going to spend Mexican Empire. That's what we have been. Okay, we are. No more names. Yep, let's do that. And we're running supplies through various ports. Mobile. Yeah. In the different states, you're all revolting. I get you. We get the rough seas. Well, British mobilization gets to 60%. If it gets to 100, they come in, as far as I understand. I don't know if I've played the fully played a full game. I know I've toyed around with the Allies in Strategic Command World War II. Oh shit! There goes my. I don't have enough cavalry as it is, and you just killed one of my cavalry units out there. Okay, these guys are getting pounded by way too many forces. They're gonna have trouble. Yeah, run away, retreat back here. No, I said retreat. Okay, we lost a brigade. We're gonna have to fall back. Like I say, things aren't going 100% our way. They're going well, but they're not. Everything is wondrous. 5 miles and go from Pashtun Wali language to Arabic and then to Dari. Yeah, I'm sure. I've known a few people that have served in Afghanistan in various capacities, including one guy I knew. He was literally in there a year during the Soviet occupation time. So, yeah, I don't remember all that I've been told over the years about various things, but yeah, it is very interesting. Well, they'll come in on the Confederate side if they're going to come in on anybody. The Union is just keeping them out, which would give us a northern front. Okay. Yes, we'll put you there. A Mexican regiment. Mexican brigade. There. Right, now up here, okay, we let ourselves get a little too surrounded. Now, these guys coming to here, they're going to get cut off here, but hopefully they can make it back that way. These guys can get down to here. They'll come to here. They're holding the line around the lake. Come across the mountain. You come up this way. Now these are corps, not just divisions or brigades. So they're considerably stronger. We had some setbacks, including losing a cavalry brigade over here, which I was seriously hoping to... Because right now, all of this is open. Yes, I knew this was going to happen, but I'm not going to get a brigade there in time. Oh, damn it, it was a lot worse than I thought. Okay, that's going to be painful, but I'm trying to save this one unit. Right, but I think I saved the unit there. We got some good corps and divisions coming, but they just weren't there then. Let's look at the supply map here. Okay, there, right, yeah, okay, they should be able to get fully maxed out, good. Well, would it be a challenge, though, Arno? Arno's asked if I've ever played the Allies in Strategic Command World War II on the Western Front. Now, I'm presuming you're talking war, the War in Europe version versus, you know, the Global War version. See, I've always taken the idea that how to defeat the Axis. Well, can we think of a way? Oh, we'll just do what they did historically. You know, because the Allies won. I mean, it's as simple as that. They won. And the Axis didn't. Now, can you win faster? You know, can you win by 44? There's certainly ways to do that. The question is how much do you push on that? You know, so that's some of the stuff I sort of got to think about when I think of World War II. Right, okay. So we're going to move you up to here. That'll give us a good look in here so we don't have one of those expensive need to bump into the force to try to win it. So I guess that's my appreciation is, yeah, good that we got that spotted instead of bumping into it. Oops, take out their division, yay. Hurt us a bit, but took out a division. Longstreet's army. This way, this way. So I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I just don't know how, challenging it would be playing it. That's one of the reasons. I can't tell you how much literal time in my life I have spent daydreaming, because I'm like waiting for a buddy to show up or waiting in line at the grocery store or whatever, just as a mental exercise. How could this or that maybe have been done in World War II to change, not necessarily winning or losing the war, but a campaign or a battle or whatever. And that's a big time what it fascinates me is the what ifs, what would it have taken, that kind of thing. Well, I'm sure it'd be fun. I'm not arguing the funness or not. Okay. We're going to put you on rails, and we're going to put you to there. That way it secures this rail line area. I guess there. Okay, a division and a corps are now up there. You can come back to here. Yeah, okay. Oh, we spotted some horsies. Yay, you come back to there, get repaired. Do I move you by rail? Do I reinforce you? Well, we'll see, Arno. We'll see. I'm not going to make a commitment one way or another. Right this moment. We'll just to here, I think. Moment. No. You can't quite do that. You can occupy them, but with the time scale and whatnot, you can't destroy rail lines or build them. But you can cut rail lines simply by taking control of the territory. Okay, well, see, now they've, my opinion, okay, has somewhat messed themselves up here. Okay, artillery at that. That. Scatter that or there. Quite a bit. Oh, they did not retreat. That is unfortunate. I need more horses. Mosby. Very good cavalry leader. No problem. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, no problem. Yeah, he was doing some training of Afghans as part of a multinational force in Afghanistan, so a bit chaotic. Okay, core on core. And had language barriers and whatnot going on. And oh, they've are not in Carthage. I was expecting them to be in Carthage. Let's move you up that way. I don't know how much is cultural, just the way they understand the world versus the way we understand the world. Enemy contact. Oh, not so bad. Okay. Okay, that will definitely help us there. Okay, that brigade is just too weak, I guess. I don't know. Don't know why that didn't work a little better. There is a potential here, shall we say, for me to now you're not going to let me invade this port? Ugh. I don't know what's going on. Well, I hear you, but I was able to land here, so I don't think it's raining. When I've moved ships next to it, We can try this here. It's let me just sort of fire at the fort, and get shot back at and hurt like that, but not take it. Because this whole line is gray because the Union still controls this. So I don't know. Okay, down here, before we completely forget, move you up this way, you that way. Little tribal people, Helmand, yeah, tribes, villages don't care about far up people, which are bordering province, let alone Afghanistan as a whole. Yeah, I understand that they don't have the idea of nationalism, the idea of a nation state, as a people, as a group, that they are tribally oriented. Unfortunately, and I know they did do when we were there. Not me, but we, the West, was there. We did do some of what I'm going to recommend, but I don't know that we did it as well as we could have or should have. But to a hammer, all problems look like a nail. Something to be pounded down. Well, the way to deal with Afghanistan, because I don't know if victory or conquer is the right term. Obviously, we could conquer or be victorious in Afghanistan. I mean, it would happen in less than 24 hours if we push the right buttons. We'll have enough mushroom clouds that there will be no one left in Afghanistan. And it just determines on how, radioactive it is going to be for other people decide to move in. So yeah, it's restraint by the great powers that allows Afghanistan to continue to be what it is, because the Soviets could have exterminated everybody. The U.S. could exterminate everybody. Even France or Britain could do that if they really wanted to. Well, they might not have enough nukes to get everybody because of the way the hills and whatnot. Some people might survive, but they can get the big cities, of course. But to deal with Afghanistan, you need to destroy Afghanistan. I know I just said there is no national identity there, but destroy the people culturally. The reason they are the way they are is because of their remoteness, their physical remoteness from the rest of the world. Yeah, the way Mongolians are the way they are is, again, their sort of physical remoteness from the rest of the world. Now there's mostly plains and sort of territory that's really hard to build roads on because, it's sort of like in other parts of the steppe, but maybe a bit more extreme in that it goes through a sort of a swamp phase, a hard phase, during certain summer elements, and then into a frozen phase, in winter, whatnot. So remoteness is why it is what it is, because you can look at places like a lot of places along the African coast where there are cities. Well, more Western society has gotten into those parts of Africa than, deeper territories in Africa. So, in this, you can also look at Pakistan. Pakistan is a varied place, and they have their northwest frontier, which is, in essence, more of Afghanistan. in that it's tribal. It's not none of those tribal groups have any loyalty to Pakistan as a national identity. They are, have guns, run around with guns, but guns are basically, I don't know if the death penalty, but serious penalties in the rest of Pakistan. If you have a gun, you get caught with a gun, you're going to jail. The police can show up in the tribal territories, and you can wave hello at them while carrying your rifle, because up there you get to have guns. They're not outlawed there. So the way to deal with Afghanistan is both through physical infrastructure and electronic digital infrastructure, is to destroy their culture, is build roads, is my basic thing. And I know we did build roads, so I'm not saying it didn't happen, but to build roads to go to where it would have taken, 4 hours drive, I mean good road, or, good sort of straight roads, where they now have roads that the Toyota Hilux can slowly maneuver along, make it so you can go 40, 50 miles an hour down a good surface. Try not to do too many bridges that would easily be blown up or something. Try to get so that people can move around, so that ideas can move around in Afghanistan, and try to put in as much as you can a decentralized electronic system, or an electricity system. And the reason I say decentralized, so no one can cut the main power lines, or cut blow up the dam, because there was one major hydroelectric dam, I believe, in Afghanistan. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of Iraq. But get it set up so that, a lot of either, windmills or solar panel kind of thing. So it's decentralized down to the, and maybe a few, gasoline or diesel generators, so that people can have electricity that way. So that over the generations coming afterwards, you'll have more contact, physical contact of, if not people, of goods coming in and going out. They can ship out more heroin, or just opium or whatever, but and use that to buy stuff to come in cheaper. First they're going to buy ammunition, I'm sure, but after that, buy other things. And a digital connection to the rest of the world, so that you slowly break down their isolation from the world. That is, no, not railways. Sorry. I knew you would say that. I knew you were going to say it. Because they are too easy to cut. And they take too much centralized planning, timetables, and they take too much of a professional class or group of people that will stick to the job when the West leaves, shall we say, maintaining the railways, keeping them functioning, but both the literal railways as well as the engines and whatnot. No, it needs to have somebody who cares about his Toyota pickup truck, not somebody who cares about a collectively owned, whether it's even by the tribe or whatever, collectively owned engine and rail cars or something. No, it is not railways. Sorry, IKB. I know where you're coming from, but that is not the way to do that. That and the monarchy lets you. Well, the monarchy in Afghanistan never really ruled outside of Greater Kabul area, and where he could move his armies, and he only ruled where, this is over the generations are there, only where his army, he could move in strong enough strength, and only why they'll occupied that territory before, moving on to some other area, and then his rule stopped. Japan needed 2 massive civil wars to bring them out of feudal society. I don't know that they were massive civil wars. Now, they were culturally determined, yes, to get out of isolationism. But you got to remember, I wish I was playing um, one of the Hearts of Iron games because I'd be access to a world map. But Japan, prior to Perry showing up with his American fleet, had a great transportation system. It was called the sea. Most all of the significant cities either are on the coast or have easy access to the coast, sometimes canals or managed rivers going inland. They did not use wheeled vehicles, wagons. They knew what wagons were, and the emperor would move around on them occasionally. But all transportation, and I was watching some Japanese language samurai type stuff that's on YouTube, old series from like the 80s and 90s with subtitles. My Japanese isn't that good. I did take it 3 years in high school, so I mean, I do have some Japanese, but it's not that good anymore, even as what it was. And they were one of the episodes of one of the things was how the weight that people had to carry for porters to carry people's cargo around, that they literally carried it on their back, and it was a paid sort of job. I mean, not sort of, it was a paid job, and how much and you get paid by the day or whatever, but somebody they were over, you're only supposed to, I don't know, have 40 pounds of weight or whatever it was, and it was being heavier, so it was getting too overburdened with weight. So Japan did not use a wagon system prior to the Americans showing up, and like I say, they knew what it was, but they did not use it. Their roads were not built for it. In fact, a lot of their roads had steps, not like steps like we think of, like going a staircase, but going along straight and then taking a little bit of a step down and then going straight for a ways, instead of trying to keep it all smooth. They just naturally every 10 yards or something you'd have like a 4 or 6 inch step or something, and some of their roads were designed that way. Sort of for animals and humans, rather sort of keep it on a somewhat of a more level thing. But they're what they had of a transport system was small shipping, from the boat size and going up to small ships, so that they're very easily penetratable, unlike Afghanistan. And there were a few revolts. I call them revolts over massive civil wars, but the beginning of the Meiji period, not the best expert on it. And so I'm very well could be wrong. You can prove me wrong on it. A step from road to pavement. It's sort of like if you look at the Inca Empire, which is the South American empire that the Spanish encounter. They had a series of roads around, but they did not have the wheel. They had rollers to roll big stones around, but they did not have the wheel. So they didn't have carts. And they definitely had a post system for at least important messages with runners, human runners. And so their roads were sort of like we think of tracks. And, sort of level, I'm not saying there wasn't slopes, but kind of, ever so often there would be a step up or a step down for someone to run on. Or they used llamas as beasts of burden. So, as pack animals. So they would put on, bales of food or whatever they're moving. So the idea of take a step up or take a step down every 5 yards or 5 feet or whatever. I know you Europeans, 5 yards, just think meters. Just that there would be a step up or down. Or it could be, if you're going up and down a hill or mountain or something like that, a lot more. But something that a llama could easily traverse, kind of thing. And that's how they work things, unless it was going to be rollers for heavy stone work. That kind of a road system, as opposed to a road system meant for wheels. So it's just simple steps periodically. And so yeah, Japan also prior to I mean you go way back, but you go back to the what 1600s. Um, you have the Tokugawa shogunate that in essence stops the major civil wars or ongoing warlord periods. And that's starting even though the emperor was still there and basically impotent as power center, still very ceremonially significant, but as a political power center, gone. So you had about 200 years, I guess, of the Tokugawa shogunate, and largely peaceful, at least on the Japanese scale, peaceful period of although feudalistic, not exactly the feudal system, but that we know in Europe, but very similar. Um, Going on prior to the Meiji thing, but still with that idea, yeah, but it's still a central authority. Whenever the central authority cared to poke its nose down the chain of command, and so Japan had that, and there was, I would call it a national identity, even if it wasn't quite defined as modern nationalism. And they all, except for up in Hokkaido with their, oh, I forget their other, and they're vanishing more just, not, culturally vanishing. There are other sort of people up there that, not Inuits, they're not Eskimos, but they're another sort of, both, I would, from my understanding, both a genetic as well as a cultural difference people. And Hokkaido was sort of the weird frontier prior to that very little Japanese were up there as we would think of them. The rest, they all speak basically the same language, have, the same monetary system, all that kind of stuff was all going on for hundreds of years prior to serious Western contact, because prior to that, it was the Portuguese for a while until that sort of went sour, and then the Dutch got to have a small, tiny little island within a port, basically, that they could sort of stay there. Those that stayed there permanently, but they were only allowed off the island temporarily, and a few ships a year showed up for trade and would go away. Basically, a convoy a year kind of thing, or something, I think it was. And so, very few permanent Dutch residents, and so that's the Inu or Ainu, however you pronounce that. Yeah, that's exactly who I'm thinking of. Drunken Barbarian. Yeah. So, and so yes, they had, like I say, Portuguese and Dutch contact with Europeans, but that it was on such a minor scale compared to the rest until the Americans showed up. See, American imperialism really mostly looks like knock knock, we're here. And someone says, go away. No, no, knock knock, we're here. No, go away. Knock knock, we are really here. We're not going to take over your country or anything, but we're here and we want to trade with you. And China under Clinton, knock knock, we're here again with China. And China embraced that for a while, and it's now, I don't know what's going to be the future with China, but before, under the Qing Empire, they were sort of going to, the British were going, knock knock, we're here, but we also want little bits of territory and things. The Chinese were going, no, 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 until they got blasted enough that they go, well, what can we do about it? Kind of things. So, hey, Ragar, Civil War in the U.S. Well, yes, we are playing that right here while I'm talking about other things. To be fair, though, the Potion War massive, but a quick Google, less than 10,000 died. Yeah, kind of the samurai revolt, and it's been years since I've looked into it, because I went through my weeb stage before you guys even came up with the term weeb back in high school, back in the 80s. And read about this and read a bunch of books. I forget a whole lot that I used to know. a lot of the sort of samurai stuff was samurais, just refusing to change and would rather die than change. And they even knew they were at different stages, knew they were going to lose, and they were just wanted to go out fighting instead of um, think they're going to win. And maybe even their heart of hearts knew that it was best for Japan to change, but they just felt they couldn't, is how I'm going to describe it. It was typically bribes government officials, and then country basically provides free dividends to the U.S. Oh, well, there's a whole lot of that kind of stuff going on as well, too. Um, but mostly America, modern imperialism, um, doesn't want significant territorial um, significant territory from its imperialism. We are moving back rapidly into the Philippines right now, but all we're wanting currently it's stated as access to bases. I think it might be understood that it will become ownership of bases because of sensitivity to certain equipment. Because we used to own, Subic Bay Naval Station or whatever, and whatnot. We used to own some base. I'm talking post independence. We're getting access back to some of the bases. I think it might end up actually be turning over to becoming American bases there. But that's all we want is a few bases, and economic penetration and other things for sure. But it's not that we're trying to grab up a bunch of Filipino territory. Oh, Americans are showing up down here. And no, we're not going to attack. We're actually going to reinforce. So that's American imperialism versus other imperialisms. I would say China is pushing for more than that in many cases. Okay, let's go to purchase France. Yeah, we lost a brigade. Choosing Mexican forces because I don't have to bring them in. Okay, 375. Wow, that's just going to take exactly what we have. Well, we're going to do that because it's going to take a while to get in here. So, back on the Confederate. Yeah, I think we're about maxed out. We can bring out some more specialty forces, but that's about it. Okay, so, could have retreated him out. Well, talking about other things. I really like hanging out with you guys. I know. Hopefully, it's fun to listen to me blather on about things. Okay, well, we got P Ridge. No, I don't think we're going to push too hard there. Moving up, we're moving up. We got these guys here. on a railway. Okay, well, we need to get on a railway. I just don't feel like pushing into the unknown without good reconnaissance right now out in the west, because we're doing reasonably well over here. What I'm worried about is if we attack here and and even if we take that division out with secondary and third attacks, we're going to be left weak for some of these corps. Well, these are all divisions here, but there's some corps down here. Those are 4 corps to come in and stomp out what we have there. So I think we're going to sort of sit on that as well. I'm really disappointed this whole thing was a fiasco here. Don't know why that isn't working out better. Beauregard's been sitting down here for a long time, doing really nothing. So, yeah, let's bring him over here. He can support Bragg, pushing this way with Pemberton and Johnson pushing up the Mississippi, Sterling Price out here, and Stan Watty out there. That's good. You need Gatling guns. Yeah. They didn't know what to do with Gatling guns in the American Civil War, I would say. Okay, British blockade runs. From what little I know, Confederate Foreign Minister report diplomatic success. Good with Britain. Or high seas, maybe. The government was suitably impressed with them, but they didn't order any, the Union government. I think the only Gatling guns that were used in the Civil War were private purchase by just a few, like battalion or brigade commander types that were rich enough to buy these very expensive toys. And through much of the Gatling gun's career in America, in Britain is where I sort of know of them, and both in colonial type actions, American colonial actions. Well, in the Spanish-American War, they were using some Gatling guns still. That's right around 1900, but in the 1870s and whatnot, pushing into the American West, and the British, in places like India and Africa, Omdurman and other battles that happened in Sudan. They were often used like field artillery. So it's, and in a way, the way that the British would use them would be, and I think the Americans as well, as if you were just firing canister shots out of artillery pieces. And I'm not saying they weren't effective at doing that, but that's just the way they were used, and they were getting lighter and lighter. But was there more to the Union's goals, or was the U.S. Civil War literally over the use of slaves? Okay, you missed some of my earlier talk on that, but we can cover it again. I know next to nothing other than the Gettysburg and glory have shown me. Yes. Okay, we got an armored train. Where can we put it? We can put it right there. The goal was not, the fight was not over slavery. That is a modern retcon of the American Civil War. The fight was over the Union. Lincoln was known to be anti-slavery, and I don't have all the quotes in there, but he was willing to accept continued slavery if it meant the Union staying together. Most of the people in the North were racist in the sense that they thought black people were inferior. Not racist in the sense that they hated black people or disliked them. They just thought of them as sort of like children, you know. But they were also against slavery, the people in the North. But they didn't want to, most people, I'm saying, you know, and I would say the overwhelming majority of the people in the North didn't want to go and die freeing slaves. They were willing to fight for the Union, though. It was a fight for the Union because the Confederacy was leaving the Union. That is how, okay, now, what the Confederacy was doing, wanted to get out to this for once. West Virginia didn't exist. It was just Western Virginia, and it was part of Virginia, so they could own slaves there. But these were very poor people, Appalachian people, very few slaves in existence. Maryland was a slave state. Kentucky was a slave state. Montana was a slave state. Texas was brought in as a slave state. There was very little slavery. I don't even know if slavery was legal in Texas as an independent country because it was independent for about 10 years. But it comes into the South as a slave state. The Indian territories were slave territories. Many of the Indian tribes owned slaves, black slaves. The idea was, as they were moving west, from the Southern perspective, knowing that the Northern states were against slavery and would like to, unlike, again, certain modern retcon types, would like to abolish slavery. There was even Jefferson Davis. No, not Jefferson Davis. God. He was the president of the Confederacy, and this is what I'm thinking. Thomas Jefferson, who wrote our Declaration of Independence, was going to have all men, or whatever, something about being free. And that was struck from the Declaration of Independence over insistent upon the Southern colonies at the time, before independence, obviously, because they hadn't written the thing yet. They were just in rebellion at that point, not seeking independence yet. And whether they were actually trying to seek independence or just rebelling to get better treatment from the central government or not, was still yet to be determined, was trying to free the slaves. Now, a lot of people say a lot of bad things about Thomas Jefferson. Well, see, Thomas Jefferson, I think, was in his 20s at the time of signing the American independence. And he inherits his land, and it's his property, and he's a very wealthy person. but he goes into debt personally, helping to fund the American War for Independence. So he is never able to free his slaves because of the debts that were outstanding against him. You can't just free the slaves, because if you start doing that, someone will come in and take the slaves, because as compensation for the debt. So you cannot just free slaves. They're property. It's like, well, you own, like if you have land, large or small, you can't just give it away if somebody has, a lien on it, meaning you borrowed money from the bank and you got to pay the bank back. You can't just give away that land to somebody else and not pay the money back to the bank. So Thomas Jefferson could have sold his slaves, but he couldn't just free them. So he doesn't like slavery, but he is a slave owner. So from the earliest days of the founding of the United States, particularly the Carolinas and Georgia, but also Virginia, Maryland as well, were slave states. And there was always the idea that if you were going to ban slavery, they very well may leave the Union. So as states are being progressed westward, they were trying to keep a balance. The bank slaves than his, in a way, IKB, in a way, and I'm not saying there is nothing he could have done. Okay, I'm not saying there isn't. I'm not saying there is or isn't something he could have done about it. But I also think the person that he wasn't going to go into poverty either. Somehow what you might, a modern person might just go, well, couldn't he somehow this or other thing and get, sell everything out but the slaves and pay all that money back and somehow do it in free? Yeah, he very well might have been able to work something out, but he couldn't just free the slaves and wave goodbye to them without serious consequences to the situation. So it wasn't, and my understanding, majorly goes into debt over the, American Revolution and what's going on. That's my understanding, and I could be wrong, but prove me wrong with facts and not just someone says something, because I've heard it from some fairly reliable sources over the years. And with what happens in Kansas, because Kansas comes in eventually as a free state, and that's talking earlier about John Brown and his terrorism that he and his gangs commit, and I would call them terrorism, not just guerrilla fighting. It was killing people, and it wasn't just because it was fighting over the Kansas territory. It was going to be coming in. Is it going to be free or is it going to be slave? So a lot of Southerners were moving into there, were being encouraged to move into there, bringing some slaves with them. And it wasn't just the idea of, showing up and pointing guns at him. Hey, this guy's free now or something. No, it was terrorism going on. Well, when that comes in as a free state, and Lincoln, who is a free, there's basically 4 presidential candidates, at least 3 or 4. There's definitely 2 Democrat. It's all messed up. Lincoln comes in with a minority of votes, but majority of electoral college. Slavery was definitely a political issue. Violence used, yes. And the South sees, and especially seeing with Lincoln being inaugurated in 1861, elected in 1860, South Carolina, Georgia. South Carolina is the first state. Some of these core states down here decide to go, you know, realizing that if they stay in the Union, they're eventually going to be out. Free states are going to outnumber. Oh, and it's also well known that the population in the North is much larger than in the South. The slavery wasn't going to last long, is their perception. So they were just going to get out now. Then I believe, and this is some of this, I think, some of the Union garrisons in the South were evacuated just because they were forts. Most of the time when you see fort in the United States, like Fort Dodge, they often were, that just means military base. Most of the time there's no real fortifications. Like we think, sometimes they think like logs, fence, a log fortress, if you will, or whatever, a log castle or something like that. No, most of the time there were no fortifications. Maybe a blockhouse or two that you could get in and shoot from around it, but mostly they're just army bases and they're called forts. And that includes things way off in the east. Now, there are coastal fortifications. That's a different matter, and which were shown here in real fortifications. So I think there was some evacuating of some federal troops in the South. And here in Charleston, Fort Sumter was a federal fort sitting in the middle of the harbor, sitting there basically peacefully. The state orders the fort to be evacuated because it's literally sitting in the middle of the harbor. I was there as a kid, long time ago. Took the tour with my parents. And the only way the Union can keep the fort going is by sea. The Confederates, the South Carolinian Confederates order the fort to be evacuated. The federal garrison says no, as they're ordered not to. The Confederates are set up, sort of cotton bale kind of forts around it with some large cannons that they acquired from somewhere. Not exactly sure where, whether they may have been part of the state militia or something, I don't know. But they acquire some large cannons and start blasting the fort. Basically sort of turn most of it into rubble. And because of the way Charleston Harbor is and where it is set up, simply by them erecting their sort of earthenwork and cotton bale fortifications, makes it impossible to resupply, garrison. It's all, converging fire on any ships coming in. And so the garrison surrenders. There are no casualties, as far as I can remember, in destroying the fort. Basically, the commander just orders everybody into the deeper bunkers that, where the munitions are stored or whatever. And so you blast away the outer elements of the fortification and just sort of hide down in there. And then at that point, they, realizing that they can't, they can't even shoot back anymore, they surrender. That then triggers Lincoln. I'm sure I'm getting some of the details wrong, but the overall story is right. Lincoln to call up I don't know if it's like a 90-day or a 70-day or whatever. I think it's like either a 90 or 7-day. No, I think it's like a 90-day or maybe it's 180-day. I don't know. It's a short period. He tries to get about 70,000 volunteers to show up for the Union Army. New volunteers in Washington, D.C. They all get railwayed into there. That, because this army is going to then march down into Georgia, South Carolina and Georgia, which have joined this, that then gets Virginia, I don't know whether North Carolina had already, but Tennessee, Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, Florida, all the rest of the Confederacy, all the states that eventually come into the Confederacy all come in at that period of time. With once Lincoln calls up his forces, the Confederates from much of the areas, and I don't even know if maybe some Texans show up, move up into what becomes the Army of Northern Virginia up here to oppose this. Whatever the period of time is starting to near its end for these enlistments, so Lincoln finally orders the army. The General Winifred Scott is in charge of the overall, the highest ranking general, and he does a very good job, I understand, organizing up all of the Union Army. He did a decent job fighting down in the Mexican-American War 10 years earlier, but he's now an old man. He never has a field command. He's sort of, sort of like George Marshall was for World War II. In the early stages of the American Civil War, he's doing that for the Union, and I think does it very well, but gets whatever the field commander is and basically orders them to push into the South, and that's where you get the First Battle of Manassas, or the Union calls it Bull Run. I'm going with Manassas because the Confederates won the battle. So I call it by the victor gets to name it. So, well, I say terrorism, not just violence for political ends. To me, terrorism is when I'm in London, either walking to an underground station, basically, for those I know, Drunken Barbarian and IKB know what I'm talking about with the underground. But some of the underground, transportation system in London has stations in the same location as train stations that go regionally around, but it's an urban train system. So either I'm walking towards a train station, and this literally happens to me, and I get there and I'm not allowed to go in, or I'm on the underground and we stop at a underground stop. An announcement comes over the loudspeakers on the train saying, we're at the whatever station, and you can get off here if you want, but due to a IRA announcement, or whatever they would call it, I forget, that they were going to plant a bomb, because the IRA at that stage wasn't really trying to kill people. They would plant a bomb and then make a telephone call in, use some sort of authenticating, I don't know what it was, so that they knew it wasn't just, so the British authorities knew it wasn't just a crank call of some teenagers, but it was really, a proper IRA terrorist group has planted a bomb in this train station. It's going to go off sometime today after 12 o'clock or something, and you let them know an hour or 2 hours before or whatever, doing these kinds of call in. And there really was a bomb. It's not just a, fake call in, but somebody dropped off a bomb that, I'm in an underground, they stop, I'm on the train saying, you can get off here, or we're going to drive through the train station, like Victoria train station or underground station that links there. I forget whatever it was exactly. And you can get off on the station after it. But we're not stopping in the train station. It was the one I was planning on getting out on. That there's a bomb planted supposedly there or something. And I don't know the stages of collection, identification and collection. A few years later, I was trained on how to, the procedures of how to search for a bomb and what to do, if you have a bomb threat. Not on what wires to cut, but how to clear an area to look for the bomb, what to do, kind of thing. And when you found the bomb, there's the bomb, walk away from it and tell everybody else and get everybody away from it, of course, and call the police and the bomb squad and let them know. But if you've had a bomb threat, how to search things. So I've had some training because of some stuff in the past on some of those kind of security issues myself, but this was some time later. So yeah, I call that a terrorist organization. That, yes, by that point the IRA really wasn't trying to do a mass casualty event. Oh, and I know later on, after the War on Terror and the London bus bombings and other things that they've done in which the Islamic terrorists were trying to actually kill lots of people, and earlier on the IRA were trying to kill people, but they were targeting what was a civilian, economic, in the sense that people may be trying to get to work or get home from work or whatever and disrupting their day, but are not targeting, not trying to just blow up a railway bridge to cut a railway from doing it. They're putting it in a railway station and where there are people there, and it's a small bomb that's only going to really hurt people if it goes off, and if they ignored, didn't pay attention to the threat. I presume the bomb was set to go off. I think sometimes they may have planted bombs and didn't actually have the timer set, just to have a bomb there to make it real. That to me is terrorism, because they are trying to create terror in the populace. The tube is terrorism incarnate, the tube, yeah. Yes, I know they call it the tube, but I'm trying to talk to people who aren't necessarily in on the right terms there, IKB. Oh, I thought the tube was fascinating as an American from the West Coast. It was fascinating, and as someone who did it, also younger. I mean, that was when I was a young adult in those days when I was in London. But as a younger child, taking some like the sort of coming in, flying in with, again, parents to whatever airports, and then taking the the New York subway system. That London's was much, much cleaner. So yeah, as remembering that. But yeah, so where a guerrilla warfare would be saying blowing up power lines out in the middle of somewhere that isn't going to affect anybody directly, other than cutting the power to a town or to a city. I'm not saying they're not to do effect, but you're not creating terror, you're creating disruption by not having power, or by blowing up a bridge, but in such a way, doing it at such a time in which there are expected no passengers, and presumably the rail companies know that the bridge has been blown, so no trains are going to accidentally, roll off of it. You're just doing an act of guerrilla warfare, targeting, military occupation, targeting other infrastructure. That is guerrilla warfare. Well, very good to hear, Drunken Barbarian. Very good to hear. So that is how I can define violence. Political violence can be terrorism. It can also be, somebody who, when they decide to snipe at people, and even knowing that there's a huge group of people out there that are in essence that person's enemies, they're only targeting the police or maybe the political leadership, but they're not like machine gunning down crowds of people. They're trying to assassinate a political leader or others. And this is why terrors, I think is how they pronounce it in Rhodesia. Someone who I might, and I'm not saying accent, but I think that's how, because it's sort of they abbreviated it. They talked about that, is because the quote unquote guerrillas that were fighting the Rhodesians, they'd attack farm vehicles, they'd attack farms. I mean, so a lot of little trucks and little cars, had guys riding around, the rural farmers with military grade, FNFALs and Uzis and whatnot, just because they were being stopped and with the unarmed and attacked and killed. Not just, like stopped and robbed, give me all the money in your pocket or something. They were killing the farmers when they were isolated around, driving between their farms or their farms and towns or whatever, they had to put security fences around and arm themselves up. And so they were attacking what otherwise people that were not active in security operations, even if they were a reserve soldier at some times, but when they took their uniform off and were just being a farmer, they would be attacked. And of course, they shot down with a surface-to-air missile a commercial airliner that they perfectly knew. And you want to go, oh well, how do we know that they knew it was that? Well, they then find the wreck and find people alive and shoot the passengers, women and children. They shoot the passengers that were alive after the plane crashed. I mean, it was enough of a wreck that there were 20 or 30 survivors. A few people had crawled off into the bush or whatever, it survived. But they definitely, and when they came back, they found these people gunshot wounds and otherwise no other significant injuries. So they were targeting civilians. So that's why in Rhodesia they're called terrorists, because enough of the guerrillas, if not all of the guerrillas, were perpetrating terrorist attacks. Ariver Singh, how you doing? You related to I'm going to butcher the name up here. Sachin Singh. I don't mean to butcher the names, but yes, or some other Singh I know is a common name in India, but I'm doing very well. Thank you. How are you doing? So political violence you can just be guerrilla, can be terrorism. It depends on how it's targeted. That is, and that, words need to have meanings and definitions. So not all guerrillas are terrorists. Some guerrilla type fightings are terrorists. And then there's just terrorists that are, I guess you could call sort of urban guerrillas or whatever, but yeah. All right. Okay. We are here. We are going to move up our divisions. Okay. Different account or different name on the account. Cool. Wow. He moved way there. And I am not going to trust anymore. Oh shit, we can't get to here? Why can't we get to here? We're over here. We have rail connections to here, but not to there. If we just ride down to here, we're going to get there in just about as much time. Okay. Oh, it's your real name. Okay, no problem. Sorry if I don't keep track of these things well. Okay. Yeah. Right. Let's continue our reinforcing, and we know guy went down there, so we don't want to bump into him. Now we've spotted him. There. Very good. Oh, we don't have the town back yet, but okay, well. At least we took out a unit there. You guys continue moving north. How much of a mess the railroads are in the... Oh, well, okay. Now, You're absolutely right. They were a mess. But what this game doesn't do is integrate the river system that was integrated as part. The railway is integrated into the river system that predates it. There, especially starting in Carolinas, not so much Texas. Well, Texas coastally down here, but this area, the Carolinas through this area here, not really Tennessee, but this is malaria country. This is hot. This is disease ridden. That is why so many people are up in the north. It isn't until two things happen. One, malaria is basically defeated. I know quinine existed. They knew about quinine. They could get quinine, but it wasn't something that was common or everywhere. But malaria has more or less been defeated in the United States. And two, and they didn't understand that it was mosquito driven. I don't know when they may have figured it out by now. I don't know, in 1860s. I don't know, but eventually they figured out that it's mosquito borne and not just bad air. Because malaria, bad air, is basically what the term means. And two, in the more modern post World War II era, is air conditioning, that you can do work, including in factories and whatnot, in an air-conditioned environment. So that's gotten a lot of people to move out of here that freezes for a good chunk of the year, so that they're willing to put up with the heat because they can, get relief from the heat. Where prior to, air conditioning does show up around, I think in the 1880s, there's a dot, and it sort of shows up, refrigeration and air conditioning. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's like in the 1880s, to try to deal with medical patients and the heat. But that's just experimental and figuring out the process of creating artificial refrigeration. And a lot of that work is done in the United States. But it's not really until post World War II that huge, air conditioning at scale really starts coming in a major way, including into the South. And that's what gets people to be able to live comfortably there today. And that's why there's still a significant migration of people from the North to the South nowadays, is because of the air conditioning allows it to happen. And so, like I was saying, the riverways were and just too hot to build canals for long. Yeah, you could talk slavery, but just at the time that America, with the Erie Canal and whatnot, are really trying to get some, you can see it here, Erie Canal, getting it built, the railways show up. Before that, and IKB knows about them. IKB is our transportation expert, 19th century style. Is that there's a very sophisticated river system that is more, it's not necessarily navigable by ships like we think of them. There's a lot of river boats, but river boats don't necessarily, like the Mississippi Queen or whatever, big white, you see the sort of modern retro versions, that look like they're from before the American Civil War. Big, huge multi-story river boats with, all nicely painted with a big, huge paddle wheel in the back. They were, down to what you might call large rowboats with a small steam engine in it, to medium size, to all various sizes of these things, often a lot flat bottom. So a lot of these rivers are, and I don't know about each spar or each whatever here, but a lot of these are navigable in the sense that you can, with steam engine, you can go up and down them either way all year round. They're constantly sort of shifting, so you need pilots that know them. And so the idea here is that you could rapidly come to a place like here, Montgomery, get on steamships, steamboats, and get over to here and continue on. So it isn't, and this game doesn't do that well. and there were. And I'm not saying that these are the few rivers here that are navigable to these classes of riverboats, but the others, again, there's probably other sections that could be on the map. I don't know that should be, but could be, but they're probably not worth doing, as they didn't overly affect. So it's a system that worked well because the South was a resource center, not a manufacturing center. Its main resources were agricultural, not mining. Um, and so either internally, bringing it to places like the Tennessee River here and going north, and then going north, and then going north, all the way up to Pittsburgh on a navigable river, or heading out to the west, or getting up to Chicago. You could get, I think, a bit closer. I think you get pretty damn close to Chicago with some navigable rivers. And then, of course, as the railways built up, and you can see here that there's a lot more railways are being built up in the north, that it works very well getting resources to the north or to the sea, which will go to the north or out to the rest of the world. It was a pretty good system. And you got to remember, what rail was showing up in force just 20 years, 30 years maximum, 1830s, really showing up in the United States. I'm not talking about a few, experimental or whatever. Again, IKB is a better expert on some of these than I am. Hey, Eric. But, so in 20 years, it ain't that bad. It's just, a combination of this game, but it was nothing like the North, that's for sure. I'll grant that. Okay, well, we can see that they've evacuated from there, so we'll take that. Keep pressuring on them. Yeah, I'll talk to you sometime off stream, and I'll send you messages, and we can organize up something when we get together and chat a bit. We'll see. I want to hear about things and talk to you about some stuff. Okay, again, we're going to wait till we get horses before we push here. We've got horses here. Just alerted us to that. I'm going to sort of guess there's maybe somebody there. North, either way. Rather kill the unit than have it around. Move you up. Supply going forward. Okay, we're going to move you to the forest here then. This is where we need a... Okay, I get up. Yeah. I mean, almost equal exchange, not quite, but I didn't need that to happen. But there. Okay, you retreat all the way out to there. That's fine. Well, very good. And I did see your post that things are working on the internet. I presume you saw my post of why we're not doing World War I today, and we'll see when we get to it. Still on the to-do list. Okay. Now. And you shatter that and occupy that. get over to the bridge into Springfield. Oh, here. Well, yeah, you don't. This river might be deceptive in that we can cross straight across it. You don't have to do the bridges, though you can see the bridges do help with the movement. I'm just not ready to push up. The further you push up here, the further you are away from here. I'm just not ready to push up across the river there. I still see a lot of forces moving up, and I want to clean them up, clean up the rear areas first, I guess. IKB. Those exchange rates just don't look. I mean, they're slightly favorable, and I could kill a division, but to me, those are just bashing my head into the wall. You come to here. Okay, we saw that is. That cuts this railway, but they still have that railway. These guys are we're gonna undo that. These guys are gonna come up here. I think we may fortify Gettysburg. That might be a good place to have a fort. Well, these guys fucked out here in the swamp. It's gonna be bad supply. Yeah, next turn I hopefully will move them a little bit, get them into supply again. I don't know about this. How to take? I literally don't know how to take this because I couldn't offload either into the port or whatever. I don't know. Okay, we got these two big ironclads. That'll about wreck my little submarine. Shatter him. Good. Good. Clearing up the Union Navy. The great. I don't know that we are going to simulate somehow the great locomotive chase. I do know that. Thank you, Singh. You have a good day or evening yourself. Okay, these guys get to the railway. These guys just get to the road. We're reorganizing up things there. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I think maybe we can move to Biloxi and try to take that just to get another little bit of points. Right, well. I just don't know. Do I try to use the rail system and get them up to here? Do I march them up this way? Yeah. Let's march you guys. You guys are going to reinforce because you're not in the best shape. Okay. Guys into the port to better do repairs. Sure thing, drunken barbarian. Good to have you back around. Well, I don't know that there's much more to do this turn. Oh, well, let's see what we're doing down in Mexico way. Let's look at supply. Next turn. Okay, that's actually better supply there. Oh. There we go. They're out there. Here, these guys, let's just... They have some supply there, but that'll be... We can't hang... They're going to get cut off if we hang out here. So we'll try to get down to here next turn. Okay, it'll be a little bit of problems. We're going to use these two lakes to guard the flanks here. They come through too much of this. We can see here again on the supply. You know, out here from our perspective, this has zero supply. So coming from there, these other roads, this area probably also has zero supply. So any units that go out there and stay there are going to die eventually. And anything moving through will get weaker. See about taking that. Those cores will probably change things a bit. Okay. I think that's about all movement we're going to do here. Purchase. Probably not this turn. Can't purchase anything there yet. You guys aren't in. The Indians have any. Well, we can do another timber-clad riverboat. We've got 3 corps still coming. 1 cavalry replacement group, brigade or division, and 2 Indian groups coming. So those will be nice in November eventually. So right. And since we do have a lot, let's do some research. Well, let's do a leadership. Let's see if we can do that. Very good. Oh, diplomacy. How are we doing with? Okay. Britain's at 62. Spain's at 65. I think we'll leave it at that. Probably not going to get them in. Not trying real hard. Yeah, you're going to suffer attrition. This has been a fiasco. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong or the map just doesn't cooperate. Yeah, well, we're progressing along balloon development. Wow, 70% and 70%. Wow. But I think this both due to our taking and retaking territory, as well as our diplomatic efforts. It's thinking down there. Okay. Now that almost killed it, even though it was discovered. That didn't do too well. And they're coming after... see, this is why I'm still far... I mean, we're doing very well for the Confederacy, but... Well, this, in my opinion, seems far from one. The whole Mexican thing is doing very poorly. Partially because I think I put so much effort into the Confederacy early on with the French, but that did turn the tide there. No, nothing from the port. Colonel George S. Patton is killed in action. Okay, Mexican Cavalry Brigade gets to show up there. Good. Well, you know, there are some Union ships up there, which are good to know. Well, okay, IKB. Surprised you don't know this, but Mexico defaulted on its loans, so the French and the British decided to collect on their loans. So they invaded Mexico, took over Veracruz, and I think some other ports. And the British were there just to collect the taxes, the import-export duties on things, to pay back the loans, plus the cost of collecting on the loan. The French decided that under Napoleon III decided they wanted to turn Mexico into the puppet. So the British left before they got all their tax money because they're going, nope, we didn't sign up for this. We signed up for collecting taxes, not conquest of Mexico. So that's why we have the Mexican sideshow. Now, why, and I've talked about this before, and I'll cover it quickly here. Obviously, no European powers even recognized, let alone sent soldiers into the South. And slavery was a major reason, though not the only reasons why, in my opinion, they didn't do that. If you're pretty sure the South is going to lose, why do you want to anger the North by recognizing the South even for a few years? So I think it's partially that. Now, my what if is, we'll call them the Allies show up in Mexico to collect their taxes, and then Napoleon III wants to set up Maximilian I of Mexico, presumably going to be the first, or Maximilian as Emperor of Mexico, but as a puppet of France. What if some American politicians, could be like the Secretary of State, could be the president, could be a group of senators, the senators are the ones who declare war in the United States, made public statements like, we will not let this stand. As soon as we're done with our American Civil War, we're going to go down and kick the French out of Mexico. What if they made statements like that? Now, we could argue legitimately, I would say. Yes, there is somebody in there. Can we see him by doing this? No. Thought there was somebody. Maybe he died from no supplies. I don't know. So what if they said this? And what would be and whether that was just a lot of hot air, because maybe once the war's over, the American populace won't have the stomach for sending American soldiers, after a very bloody war, into more wars. But let's just say Napoleon III accepts this is going to be a fact. Oh, shit. Although they're not attacking me now, they're going to declare war on me, or at least on the Mexican emperor, and attack my French troops in Mexico, whether they, send Union ships across the Atlantic or something, I don't know. But they're going to do this, and I'm militarily committed and want to expand the French, empire, if you will, even if it's through puppets. What would Napoleon III do? Well, I don't know in those kind of situations if it is so far-fetched that France wouldn't come in on the Confederate side. Definitely all the major European powers would like to see America diminished. So they would love to see it split between North and South. I think particularly in Britain, but also in France and other places, slavery is very distasteful, so they really don't want to be seen supporting slavery. But if a de facto, declaration of war is declared, what would Napoleon do? Well, I could see Napoleon going, oh, shit, this ain't good. We ought to come in on the war. So that is why I've come around, not, because before I would have said, no, that wasn't going to happen. Just, that they'd actually come into the war. But as I thought about it more, with the idea that if you convinced in one fashion or another, Napoleon III, that war with America was inevitable, they might actually come in. I don't know how best to use this. I mean, I don't know how strong it's going to be. Obviously, see here, because this railway here, and it probably cut by the war here because Harper's Ferry is, in. I'm sure there was railway connections here, but with this map, there's no. You have to take Washington D.C. So I can't move this train up into here. It can only move along the railways. I can rail move it, strategically move it to get it out here. I think that's maybe what I should do. They're probably going to be more useful out in the west. So let's do that. Yeah, let's just put it here. Get it down here. Well, you fall all the way back to there. You occupy Aberdeen. I think you'll be strong enough to hold it. This would be the better strategic move because we are flanking. The units down here. There's got to be somebody in that town. We go this way. Do AIs worry? Is the AI worried about some of the flanking moves I am doing? I wonder. Hopefully that'll be in supply. Yeah, a little bit. Keep starving. Good. Now, down here with our ships. Okay, let's max him out. Let's max him out, even though it's France. I am feeling a bit like I've overextended myself a bit. Well, that worked out well. Minor inconvenience, take out a core. Well, and the French. The French. What does that cost? Properly equipped. More than we have. Okay, we'll save up some more. Oh, we got to move these guys because we want to get back Biloxi, Mississippi. Let's go to the road quicker. Gotta remember to move these guys. I think we're just marching over to here to get Jacksonville back in. Guys, we moved. I know they came down and bombarded Fort Monroe here. Yeah, yeah, okay, you're suffering losses. That was a total fiasco. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Okay, infantry tactics level 3, very good. Oh, goody, another core over here. Like I say, I think I'm getting a little spread out. Maybe we come up around the rear. We have a division and some brigades, but There goes a core. And there goes a division. And more Union troops down in Mexico. Oh, goody. UK prepares for war. How interesting. Oh, I forgot to move him, or I think I did. Well, whatever. Okay. Delegates from the Canadian colonies meet in Quebec to discuss proposed Canadian Confederation. Interesting. Yep. British mobilization reaches 80%. Okay, well, we got a few more corps to replace the corps we just lost. But it was an expensive loss, I'm sure. Okay. Oh, shit. Are you telling me it's one of these that can't move anywhere because of no supply outside of there? Oh, God. Yeah, I know I get myself into these situations. All right. Well, we are seeing significant activities here, but we're clearing out more and more of oh, that should do it. There we go. That does it. Get across the river. You just reinforce. Yes, to the maximum. Forces, well, they're coming. We got them wiped out. I don't expect it to have a lot of influence on the land, but at least they regain the river for us and can work to block there. Okay, you max out. Okay. Right in the town. Right outside the town. You know they got a core there and they're pushing hard. Ain't gonna be good, but I think we can handle it. Oh, I was hoping we'd get it with all that, but nope. Nope, guess not. Ah, we see Springfield, one of many in the United States, is unoccupied currently. Okay, well, yes, you come back to there. You come to here and just defend. Well, up here, no, here. Go to clearly, let's look at supply. All right, well. You fall back and hold the crossroads. Yes, you come up this way. Now you're flanked. Now down here. Over here. Okay. Well, good. We shattered them. We got some cores coming there. Replacement, yes. Okay, we have 2 corps that are doing good shape. We've got some reconnaissance with that. I think that'll survive. You need to move here. Okay, we'll get Biloxi next turn. Got the Union force there that we got to take out. Just a brigade, but still do it too much for this brigade. Well, while we're sitting here, let's improve your equipment and add skirmishers. Not that that was terribly effective, but felt good. Bombard them a bit. All right. Well, save this. Well, I think we're going to end the episode here and the live stream. I want to thank everybody who's been hanging out with me. Arno, IKB. I know the Drunken Barbarian had to leave, and so did Singh. Eric, I don't know if you're still around, but thanks for showing up. We'll be back tomorrow, and I say we because I'm hoping Team G will show up with me, and we'll play some War Thunder. Maybe I think we need a little more practice with Hell Let Loose if Eric is around and Arno to get together and do a team, little practice with that sometime maybe this next week. But see about that sometime. But so probably, War Thunder tomorrow. So hopefully to see you guys then. Thanks so much.